Historic Park by Sarah Mann, Samantha Galaviz, and Maribel Sanchez. Welcome to the park. As you can see, we are greeted by an old-fashioned replica of a fruit stand. The Big Orange is in Riverside, and it recalls an era that forever changed Southern California. In this park, we learn the main symbol of Riverside, which is the navel orange. History. In 1873, the U.S. Department of Agriculture forever changed the history of Southern California when it sent two small navel orange trees to Riverside resident Eliza Tibbetts. Those trees, growing in near perfect soil and weather conditions, produce an especially sweet and flavorful fruit. Word of this far superior orange quickly spread, and a great agriculture industry was born. This is what the monument asks us to remember. Its significant history from how they started and came to be their tasty and juicy citrus. In this slide, you can see different historic pictures. On the bottom left, you have Eliza Tibbetts. It's a really bad picture, and I'm sorry, but it was in a case, so nobody can steal it, I guess. And next to Eliza Tibbetts, you have the dedication rock with the plaque on it and one of the first navel trees, along with other historically accurate pictures. Unity and variety. The different citrus varied in different colors, sizes, and shapes. Some were yellow, orange, and green. For example, a lemon, lime, and orange. Some were much bigger than others, and some were very small. For example, the navel orange versus a mandarin. Some of the citrus trees were taller than others, some were skinnier than others. For example, the orange trees versus the grapefruit bushes. Here you can see different varieties of different fruit and citrus. Balance. Many citrus trees and bushes are lined up all ready to be picked, creating a balance between the not so heard of citrus and the very well known ones. Here you have a balance of two different types of rows of different types of fruit. Emphasis. The main emphasis of this park is the history holds of its most prized possession, the navel orange, the biggest reason why we have Riverside right now and why we have oranges on our little street signs and Orange County doesn't. Just had to point that out. Here we have a navel orange. If you cut the navel orange in half, you will know why it's called a navel orange. If you cut it in half, it will open, obviously. And on top, you will have a little itty bitty bitty second orange, known as the navel or the belly button. Contrast. There were many different shapes and colors of the plants, trees, the roads, and just the different varieties. The main one was orange and greens, and they did so many different things with those two colors, and it's so amazing how different oranges and fruits and citrus can make so many different colors out of two varieties of greens and oranges. Here you can see the green on the green and the yellow on the green, creating two different types of contrast. Rhyme and repetition. The placement of the rows at the park created a repetition not only to the rows being lined up, but to the different fruits. Many of the same fruits were grouped together on some parts of the plantation. Other parts, they were scattered, but they were still in rhyme and repetition of the order that they go in. So even though some parts it might just be all oranges, some parts it might be lemon, orange, grapefruit, lemon, orange, grapefruit. As you can see in this picture. Figure and ground relationships. We used arrangement and organization in the photo to create a balance between the figures that we were picturing and the ground. The way that this photo is arranged, it creates an effect that the palm trees are actually coming out of the ground, which they are, so that's a good thing. And if you really want to know something very cool about this picture, when we were on our walking tour with the park ranger, he told us before they had street signs, those ones I was talking to you about before, that people could look up at palm trees, and if you knew your palm trees, you would know which road you were on. So these palm trees are pretty significant. Color. The park was covered in a mixture of green, vibrant shades of orange and brown, sandy ground. The shades of the different citrus stood out more next to the dark natural green shades of the leaves than they did next to each other. Here is some colors. You've seen 2 of these pictures already, but that's okay. We like them. In the middle picture on the bottom, you can see how there's different types of plants that aren't, of course, citrus plants. But in the area, they have picnic areas, and they have an area where people could get married and where people could have sacred ceremonies. Texture. The texture overall was very not like what you would think when you go to Riverside, which is desert. The park manages to grow millions of trees with beautiful textures and perfect soils just so they can get the perfect citrus. Geographical space. Out of 3 places that anybody could choose from, Riverside was chosen for its climate and its land because it had the perfect soil to grow the citrus, making it the center of the citrus industry. How crazy is that to live for 30-45 minutes from a place that is known as a second gold rush, but for citrus? And you can visit it anytime you would like. Here is a map of the park and the geographical space surrounding the park. As you can see the rows and the lines of the different bushes and trees, you can see what we were talking about when we were talking in the unity and the variety and the emphasis and all of that good stuff. The viewer experience. The rangers were able to give us a walking tour and let us know so much about the park. The ranger also stated that not only do they allow schools to come for field trips for the park, and they don't charge them, but they pay the fees to get them to come to the park, like the buses and all of those extra stuff, so that the little ones can come to the park and know exactly why every day is Earth Day. Here we have lots of pictures of us and our experience at the park. In one of the pictures you see us with 2 of the rangers. One was the one who was giving out samples, and the other was the one who was on the walking tour with us. And a lot of these are just pictures we had with each other. And please don't mind our faces. And the one next to the ones with the rangers, we are all holding a navel orange, the symbol of Riverside. What should you remember or reflect upon? I asked the ranger this question, and he replied to me that if I were to go to go home and think about the California Citrus State Historic Park, he would want me to put my mind when I was in the 1800s and remember back on a time that the second gold rush happened with the citrus and how exciting it would have been for Riverside to become such an industrialized place in America. One thing that I personally will remember and reflect upon is the effect that the park had on me and how I never knew that citrus, oranges, lemons, and all that kind of stuff would affect me so hard. And I don't eat citrus, but when I went to this park and I ate citrus, I promise you it changed my life around. I am converted forever. And on this slide, you will see the recognition plaque that they have inside of their museum for when it was dedicated, or I'm sorry, when the park opened